Living Adaptive.
The goal is to adapt and thrive despite the adversity you face.
You're going to have that little voice inside of you trying to push yourself.
I set a vision for myself, and now I'm seeing it come to fruition.
I'm grateful for losing my leg.
There's just some things you must endure in life.
You might crash. You might fail.
You can find a purpose in your suffering.
I'm not special. I've just decided that I'm not going to stop.
You do everything you possibly can.
We want to change the world.
I'm going to adapt to it and make it the way it works for me.
Take what it is from life that you want and enjoy it.
All right, what's up, everybody? This is Scott Davidson. This is Living Adaptive. And just so you know, go to living_adaptive. You can find previous show notes, previous guest contact, all kinds of good stuff, previous episodes. Everything's there. Also, livingadaptive.com is our home base. From there, you can find all kinds of social media notes and a bunch of good stuff. So go there. Anyways, today we got on Joshua Loya. And Joshua is a really interesting guy. He's got a really great story. And first, I want to say, Josh, thanks for being here, man.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. It's glad to share the stoke with you.
Hey, man, as a stand-up comic, you're locked in right now. How are you surviving this whole thing?
I'm not going to lie. I'm probably going to eat a bag of dicks my first time out. And nobody likes eating a bag of dick, even if you like eating in the first place. So,
yeah, totally. 100%. Now, what kind of comedy do you do?
Mostly biographical. There's a lot of miscommunication and misunderstanding about what specific disabilities mean, what people confusing blindness and other things, people wanting to use sign language when they talk to me, stuff like that. So try to share those stories. And then sometimes just ridiculous stuff will happen to me where people will overshare. Like one time I was doing, this is part of my act, but like one time I got done, I left the club and this woman comes up to me and she's like, I have to tell you about the first time I slept with a blind guy. I'm like, all right, cool. All right. Well, that's one of the great things about comedy clubs. And, I'm still getting my feet more solidly seasoned and stuff. But one of the things I love about comedy clubs is the unpredictability. So comedians, are a little kind of a different breed. And people who go to comedy clubs are open for different things. And you throw a little bit of alcohol in the mix and you can just sit back and watch a show, even if you don't go on that night. So it's a
beautiful thing. Comedy clubs are the best, man. We got a bunch here in Vegas.
Yeah.
I dabble a little bit here and there, being a part of the scene. It's good. I haven't hit the stage like you, but in other outlets, I've been creative, writing stuff and so forth. But like, hey, man, how long have you been doing this whole comedy thing?
Seriously, maybe like a little over a year and a half.
Yeah.
So, I've dabbled a couple times, did open mic like a few years ago, and then, backed off and, I mostly just did that to kill time while I recovered from an injury or something like that. But at least the last few times I've been up, it's a little better because one of those times, like a fight actually broke out during not my set, but the set of a guy after me. Like this guy was basically pretending to be from Australia and heckling us the whole night. I mean, open micers were not really super seasoned, but it was a good chance for us to practice. And then things went to crap, and it was like, all right. I'll remember this. It's not boring. I'll tell you that much. So,
yeah, it gets pretty crazy at the clubs, for sure.
It can be because comedians are super well-adjusted people, right?
Yeah, what's with comedians always doing jiu-jitsu? You also do jiu-jitsu. Have you noticed like every comic is like got a little bit?
I was thinking about that because I live in San Diego. I surf. I do jiu-jitsu. I shave my head. I actually came to realization when I was wearing an On It hoodie. This isn't a joke. And I was wearing an audit hoodie, and this woman behind me was asking me craft beer advice. And I totally came to the realization that if I ever tried DMT, I should change my name to Joe Rogan and get it over with. Yeah,
man, it's on the way, man. There's a certain mindset.
It's a little bit ridiculous.
Yeah, there's a certain mindset. It's here in Vegas too, but of course it came from California first. So there's a certain mindset with it. Jiu-jitsu, man, you're hitting that too. So like you're balancing that, but you got this adaptive story. People need to know that Josh has an adaptive story, man. Let's hit this first. What's your adaptive story?
So if it's not obvious, I'm totally blind. So I don't have any visual acuity whatsoever. But I was born with very not properly formed retinas, and so super nearsighted in each eye, and lost the vision in my right eye when I was like 2 or 3 years old, and then my left eye, super nearsighted. I couldn't do contact sports or any kind of martial arts or any kind of I skated a bit and I rode my bike, but it's a good thing I never had a serious fall, because a very minimal hit to the head could have sent me to the hospital. And that's honestly why I never did surfing till much, much later.
Gotcha.
When I was like 15, not quite 16, got to the point where they didn't want me lifting weights, because I became more susceptible to an injury, right? And they didn't want me lifting weights or running, or even swimming. I mean, they didn't even want me straining when I was on the pot, in the bathroom or anything like that, because it could have caused a retinal hemorrhage.
Jesus.
And yeah, I know, right? And so I got super restless. Like I'm a huge metalhead. Been listening to heavy music since I was real young. And so what do? Having no martial arts experience at all, I cranked up Pantera, Far Beyond Driven, had just been out for a few months, and grabbed a pair of nunchucks and was jamming out and totally popped myself in my good eye. So,
oh, shit.
And I was like, all right. I mean, it was a matter of time, honestly, but it was a little bit of a sudden jump forward in terms of how difficult things were, visually speaking. And I mean, it sounds a little trite, but honestly, after I got past the shock of everything, it opened up a whole bunch of doors that weren't available to me because I was worried about losing my eyesight. So, now I could do martial arts for real. I didn't have to just sit at home and watch Bruce Lee movies and stuff like that. Although Bruce Lee is awesome, I couldn't learn how to do it for myself. And, I finally went water skiing that year. I did some indoor rock climbing, and then I dabbled for a little while in martial arts, but did Kung Fu for a little while. And then I started training consistently in martial arts in 2005, years later. And then when I got more into more intense, full contact training and stuff, I didn't have to worry about losing an eyesight because somebody tagged me, so it's kind of interesting, as painful as the whole transition and not being able to see it all was, and still can be a day to day, not having to worry about losing something is liberating, dude. There's something to that. A lot of that is how do you look at this thing that's happened to you. I can't change what happened to me, but I can absolutely control my my response to it.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in, like, you really can't change what happens. Lottery comes out, whatever that is, natural lottery, and shit changes, and there's nothing you can do, man, about what was there. And seeing how you encounter things and go after it, man, I'm really interested in this idea, though. What is it like to be vision impaired and go out there and start choking some bitches? You know what I mean? Like, you're choking, like. Because, like, I've been in the jiu-jitsu game and some other stuff, and it's really fascinating to me, because I imagine once you get a hold of somebody,
it's a little bit of an ego stroke. Yeah. There was this one guy, the one thing, like, in a real fight where somebody could get me is if they got me, they just punched me out of nowhere, or if they just kicked me from far off, right?
Yeah.
'Cause it's hard to kind of figure out what's going on. Obviously, most things escalate, so I'm good in most real life situations. But in the gym, it's a little bit artificial. People can kind of play keep away. And this guy kept trying to play keep away, and like coming in, and then he rushes me, and I do like a Tomonagi sacrifice throw and came right back up on him, and I don't know what I did.
Yeah.
But when people would come and try to do stuff, and I end up choking them or putting my pressure on side control or whatever, there is a little bit of an ego stroke. You're like, you thought I was weak now, bitch, huh?
Yeah, it's a big confidence boost, man.
A little bit. I try. For me, honestly, though, the martial arts thing, I've competed a little bit, and honestly, there's some people who have been way more successful on the competition side. That being said, martial arts has been mostly about killing my inner bitch. Basically, is to kind of figure out how do I become a better version of myself and stop making excuses for stuff. So aside, I like the ego stroke of get the tap or whatever, but honestly, for me, it's never been about that. It's more about making myself a little bit of a better version of myself.
Yeah, you're a very active guy, man. You also surf. You got this Stoke for Life Foundation shirt on?
Absolutely,
Let's jump in it, man.
Absolutely.
Who's Stoke for Life, and what are you doing out there?
So Stoke for Life, my buddy Chaka, Charles Webb, it's his organization he put together a few years ago. They do a lot of adaptive surf clinics. They got a adaptive youth surf team, which is pretty dope. They also put on my very first surf contest. So they've put on the U.S. Open Adaptive Surfing Championships every year since 2017. And that was the year that I began to surf for real. And with like a couple months in, actual getting real surf training and coaching and stuff, I competed in my first surf contest, and that was the first U.S. Open. And what's really cool to me about the U.S. Open, and why I'm such a huge fan of Stoked for Life and everything Chaka does, is adaptive surfing is kind of a new thing.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
it's only been around in terms of being recognized for competition for a few years, and one of the things that happens a lot is you get people who, oh yay, I did a great thing for a disabled person, and those are good, but sometimes it's and honestly, like much appreciation to the ISA for all the work they've done for surfing and everything, but they don't have the direct experience of what it's like for us. And one of the things that I'm really, really excited to start seeing, and I think Stoked for Life in the U.S. Open is one of the key forerunners of this, is adaptive contests by adaptive surfers for adaptive surfers.
Oh man, yeah. Now you're talking my language.
And that's exactly it, man. Because, again, ISA, this is the first year they ever had a blind-only division and a vision-impaired division where people could all see a little bit. So they didn't try to have us compete against each other because it's a slightly different, fairly significant approach to surfing, a different way to doing it. This is the first year at the Worlds where I was competing against totally blind people. I was competing against guys like Matt Formston, who's from Australia, who's an amazing surfer and absolutely gets all the credit he needs. He deserves it. He can see a little bit, and it's a different. He has more options available to him, aside from the fact that he's been surfing for over 30 years before he lost his eyesight. Yeah. But when it came down to it, though, the U.S. Open in 2018, they were the first ones to separate the division, and so they're like, you know what, we recognize the difference here. We see that we need to separate this out, and Chaka was all for it, and they have. Again, they're just so much more tied in to the deaf community, and you're starting to see that with Sponge Williams is spearheading the event. The Welsh Open had the Welsh Open last year. Have the Bali Pro. We have a bunch of different contests now that are where adaptive surfers are part of the people putting on these contests, and it changes this. They recognize as a difference.
That's so huge to hear that the adaptive are leading from the front instead of the behind or the middle or wherever in the pack. I preach that a lot. Is that at some point we can take over. Like if you have an adaptive, organization that you're out there training people, make your head trainer adaptive. Come on, man. Like we don't have a ton of that already. But I want to jump into this, man. Childhood. Yeah. What was it like, man? Like in terms of dating and doing all going through the motions of just growing up.
Dude, it was trippy, man, because I might even be doing it now, not even realizing it. Because the way my retina was formed, my general focal point there was a fold in it, and it didn't work, right? Everybody has in their retina something that's called the macula. It's the center parts where you have the most clarity of vision. And mine was folded in upon itself, and so I had to create a separate focal point to kind of compensate so I had some clear vision. So my eyes always can look like I'm looking up. So my eyes would always look kind of funny. As far as I am from my screen right now, that's about as far as I could see with any clarity.
Gotcha.
Even with glasses. And so socially I was awkward. I was interested in being active, but because of the risk to losing my eyesight and the limited eyesight that I had, I was kind of involuntarily made an indoor kid. So it's very much like a video games and TV and books kind of guy. And I was interested in that stuff, but I was honestly really afraid. I got bullied a lot, and so I didn't really fit in with that whole crowd very much. And then so I was basically your average indoor nerd kid that doesn't quite fit in.
How'd you deal with the bullying, man? Going through life, I mean, I don't feel like bullying stops in childhood.
I got into a lot of fights. I got into a lot of fights when I was younger, even though I wasn't supposed to, and lost most of them because I didn't really know how to fight, honestly, at the time. But I didn't handle it super well. I mean, I no disrespect to my dad, my parents split up when I was super young, and so I was really mostly around women in terms of my authority figure. So I didn't really have a lot of, I mean, he was around, he wasn't completely out of the picture, but there was inconsistency. And so I didn't really have a good grasp of, what it was like to be a man, what that meant, and so not knowing how to stand up for myself without like instantly jumping to throwing down, I didn't know how to do that. I was not, because either I would inadvertently antagonize them, or I would look too weak, or I would just go, all right, enough is enough and let's do it. And there was no constructive guidance on how to handle that understood it from kind of where I was at. My mom was cool. But she's blind. It's a different situation, but young kid's not going to hear it the same way from his mom,
Yeah. Is there a way to deal with the bullying, man? Like, is it jokes? Is it cracking jokes? Is it like just accepting?
Well, now I've it's not a big deal. So if you're talking about now,
no, I mean, like when you were younger, like what would you say to yourself when you're younger, like when you're encountering that shit?
Sometimes I would just like, because I was super shy too. Actually, I was a way more, like, nowhere near as outgoing as I am now. The idea of standing up and telling jokes and stuff, and that was, like, I was cool if I was like in a play or something, but I honestly would either shut down a lot or I'd lash back. Yeah. Sometimes I'd try to do a little bit of a flip it around and come up with a whatever, but sometimes than not, nervousness would just get so high that I couldn't get my words out. And so I would either just shut down or I would just like, all right, let's go. And there was not really an in between. Most of the time I'd honestly just shut down. That was me probably 80% of the time.
Yeah, it seems understandable under the situation. There doesn't seem to be a clear answer on a lot of things there, like on how it's all situational. So like, I can totally get that. Now, man, like you said, you're in a play and you end like, how come people that are in theater and stuff end up in metal bands? Like, why is that so common? Like, what is that, man?
I think what it is like, honestly, metal, a lot of it, and especially you go golden age, late 70s, 80s and stuff, and kind of the foundational bands that really have affected us today. Mm-hmm. It's all about excess, about the spectacle,
All right, Josh. So you probably get a ton of questions and comments, right? So let me, like, for instance, like I'm wearing a Skips Leg Day shirt. And I'm trying to build an army of even healthy people, meaning able-bodied people that don't have any issues, to skip Leg Day with me from here on out till forever. Because I always got comments. People are like, "Dude, what's up with your legs? Why they're so skinny? All this other shit." I get tons of comments there.
Yeah. It's a great response.
Yeah, man. I want to skip some leg days with everybody. But like, what do you get, man? What kind of comments and stuff do you get?
The greatest question I've ever got, and because I just boggles my mind on it, is, when do you know when to stop wiping?
Oh shit, that's a solid question.
That's a question, and honestly, my first response is like, why do you spend so much time thinking about how blind people wipe our asses? But,
that's a really solid response too, though.
But truth be told, I mean, I could give you an answer, but it's all about texture, baby. So
yeah, I think you sense that. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, unless you have no feeling in your hands, whatever, you don't have to feel it through that. That's way more detail I meant to give you, but but as far as like, I get that. I get people who don't understand the difference between fully blind and being able to see a little bit, and all the permutations that like it's easy for me to give a response back because mine's pretty clear to grasp. I can't see anything. But like Matt Formston, again, from Australia, he's a sick surfer. His situation a little different. Ling, who's also another adaptive surfer from Canada, they have a little bit of vision. It's not a lot, and it's different for each of them in terms of how it manifests and what they're able to use. But so there's that. And I'm sure you get this one with your situation, is people assume that a physical situation necessarily means a cognitive disability as well.
Yeah.
And so people start doing a lot of infantilization. One of the things I get, if my wife, who is sighted, go out to dinner or something, they'll turn to her and ask her, what would he like?
Oh shit.
stuff like that. Or like I've been out with my dad and like I'll pay for our lunch or whatever, and they'll give him the change, Yeah. So I mean, that stuff happens, and honestly, like most people, they just don't know how to process it. They're like, because they've never, we honestly might be the only person with our specific situation or a similar situation that they've ever met. They've seen guys with leg problems on TV, or they've seen, they saw Ray, the Ray Charles movie, and stuff.
Sure.
And, but they don't know what blind people are like, and they don't know there's a huge range of how we live our lives and stuff. But I think most of the time it's coming from just, I don't know. And honestly, for my part, I'm pretty easygoing. If somebody is approaching it with good intent, and they're just trying to understand, I'm willing to mess with you. Obviously, you're going to have a little bit of that back and forth stuff in a locker room or whatever, which is where I got that initial question I was telling you about. But I think if we recognize that, honestly, a lot of times people they just don't know.
Yeah.
If people insist on being a jerk as you share what works and what's a good way to communicate with you, then, well, that's a whole separate thing. And, you kind of limit your interaction with them as per whether it was a disabled, non-disabled situation or not.
Bad situations happen. And in terms of like, surgeries can happen. We have a lot of listeners that go through a ton of surgeries. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Bad shit
I've
can
been
happen.
Through a few eye surgeries for sure.
Yeah. Bad shit happens. And out of the bad stuff comes sometimes good things, man. Like if you can think of the negative things that could have that happened in your life, like what good came from it?
I finally got to do martial arts for real. I finally got to surf. I mean, like 4 years ago, or not quite 4 years ago, well after I was already blind and everything, I quit my job as a technology trainer because I wanted to be a professional adventurer.
I love that.
Like my whole thing now is I'm still trying to make it work. It's a little bit interesting with current events, but like I got somebody who paid for US Open last year, and I got paid because I came in second that year. It's not much. It's not like, oh, hey, here we go. I'm getting massive amounts of sponsorship deals from, Matus and Vans and all that stuff. Although certainly they're welcome to give me some money. Like the fact that I'm starting to be able to help other people, I get paid to teach martial arts when my dojo opens again. Mm-hmm. It's, I kind of got off track there, but the whole point is the fact that I have this whole ability now. I guess if I would have never lost my eyesight and I would have had normal eyes, I could have still been doing all this stuff. But because there was sort of this, you have to be careful, oh, don't worry about it. It was like a slingshot effect. And so the freedom of losing the eyesight all the way, don't get me wrong, being blind is not a good thing, but good stuff came from it. My opportunities for athletics, I didn't actually start getting all that into being, aside from, going water skiing and a little bit of rock climbing and stuff when I was in high school. I was not super physically active, like into real extreme sports or working out tons for a good 4 or 5 years, maybe 7 years after I graduated high school. And then I started training in martial arts for real, and I started locking into it. The fact that I had to do a lot of the stuff that I did, I have low mileage. You got guys that have been doing jiu-jitsu or judo for a while, and the injuries, like I was really fortunate enough to train with Justin Flores for a while. He is one of Ronda Rousey's judo buddies and actually helped her apply her judo to her MMA competition. And he was telling me he's had like 37 knee surgeries, and he's maybe 6 months older than I am, but he competed like mad, and so the one thing I got is, even though there's a lot of room for improvement for me, and I'm just learning to really kind of come into my own as far as surfing goes now. Like I got a long ways of room for development there. I don't have a lot of mileage.
No, I was wondering this question. Okay. So like you're competing in adaptive surfing. You're out there surfing, man.
Yeah.
And like as somebody, for me, I'm freaked out surfing. Like you get out there deep, right. And I know people, that have had some tragedies out in that water, man. Do you ever fear like you're out there, you don't have vision? Do you ever fear you're going to acquire a limb difference like me by like a shark though? Like, do you ever freak the shit out there? I mean, come on.
There's been times where like, I got in my own head when I was just, when I went out there with like a buddy. It's like, oh dude, you mind if I catch this wave for a minute? And like, granted, I'm comfortable out there anyway.
Yeah.
So I'm not worried about it. But like, so I'm out in the lineup and there's basically nobody around. And I'm not it's not dangerous surf or anything, but where for whatever reason, I got stuck in my own head. I'll think like, well, if a shark came by, I guess I'm in 2 divisions now, So
you'd be sick in 2 divisions if you're already crushing it in 1.
There's actually a guy I met, just through Facebook, and I don't know if he's doing anything. I think he's doing some wakeboarding. Nate Harrison, I think. I don't know. Maybe I'll see if I can put you in touch with, but he's a veteran. He lost his eyesight, and he's a lower limb guy too. Yeah. And he's still like wakeboarding and stuff and just killing it. Is it
a requirement for the adaptive surf crew to all be taking medicinal? Like everybody, I feel like the whole fucking league.
That far gone? Is that what you're?
No. It seems like the whole league is very laid back. They're happy. Like I mean, we got Jose on the cover of Time magazine, and we've got like, everybody's out there, like kind of like really laid back, really good personalities. It's a very happy group. But I like that scene is one of my favorite scenes in the adaptive sports arena.
Yeah.
It's a really good group.
Speaking to that, they just should stop making that an issue as far as adaptive surfing events. They were testing actually people were, I don't know if anybody who actually was tested, but every athlete was subject to random testing.
That's 100% failure. Worlds. That's 100% failure. There's not even.
Yeah. You're going to test for cannabis use at a surfing contest? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. You just checking to make sure your equipment works? Like,
yeah. Let's test for juice at a powerlifting contest too. Like it's the same shit. Come on, guys. Yeah. Like, what are we doing here? It's a good.
I mean, I get it. That you want to pay attention to people's safety and stuff, but the amount of safety people they have in the water anyway, right? Mm-hmm. Like especially in an adaptive contest, there's double the amount of safety at one of those. So honestly, with the amount of weird stuff that most of us have going on, you might just make an exception, with as far as it goes. I know it shouldn't be a banned substance in non-para athletics, but it shouldn't be a banned substance in para athletics either.
If we started a show, what would it be called?
What?
Like you and I, like you and I, we started a show or a vlog or something. What would it be called? What would we do? Right.
I'm thinking this. Blinding the Gimp. I mean, I don't know.
So we could have some good content out there. Like I'm going to be out in your world. I'm going to be hanging with Jacob, creating content though. And I'd be really interested to like hang out with you guys, see what you're doing, and bring this audience that's watching right now and listening. Because we have a larger listening audience still than visual. Because we haven't even opened up YouTube except we're like 3 shows in. But the audio audience.
That's where people are just sitting at home anyway. They get it on their Roku, their Apple TV. You can be on somebody's big screen, man.
Yeah, for sure. So we've just started incorporating that across the line. I have so many questions for you when it comes to like your life and stuff, but I kind of want to bounce back to some in particular because we're kind of working on by the way, people listening, we're working on a mini series. So I want to throw in a couple questions here. Most difficult most difficult aspects of adapting to the challenges you adapt to.
Access to information.
Yeah.
We live in probably one of the best times in terms of that. Like if a book comes out today, you can read it and I can read it the same day, because the software I have available to me can access my Kindle books and stuff like that if I want. That hasn't always been the case, and that still isn't universally true across all, computing platforms and that kind of stuff. Things like, being able to have access to like your mail that comes in. Thankfully I have most of the time software that can do OCR on it, so that it can recognize the text, but it can't, recognize everything. And sometimes somebody sends me a handwritten note. As an adaptive athlete, there's a whole thing where I need to engage on social media, and sometimes software will read text in meme posts and sometimes it won't. So there's Instagram has its own issues in terms of accessibility. It's gotten better, but it's still kind of a nightmare sometimes. One of the things with that, though, is that if I don't have access to the information or as much access to the information, then it's harder for me to connect with people socially. So it doesn't mean that I can't do it, but that lack of communication or things just not working for me, it can be tricky to kind of gain support for some of the stuff I want to do and even have meaningful connections with people. So that's a huge one. So I think access to information, people understanding more, and this is something we all deal with, I think, if we're in an adaptive situation, treating us like real people that are different, trying to help bridge that gap that, not everybody who's blind is a prophet or some sort of mystic seer that can grant your wish if you rub their head 3 times. But some people are really into the mystical stuff and some people are dirtbags, so there's a whole range of people with, and that's information being able to go back. So I think access to information allows us to grow, gives us tools for educating and to garnering support for the stuff we want to do. A lot of the other secondary issues that we come at and deal with can be fixed or made worse by distorting or limiting information. The more we can open up that information for people on a two-way track, the more we can fix a lot of this stuff.
How do you get, like you personally, how do you get comfortable with the uncomfortable? How do you get comfortable living in uncertainty?
Doing hard stuff, right? So one of the things that if you go back and you look at the history of the Jewish people and you read their some of their key scriptures, right? One of the things that as they grasp it, God kept telling them is be strong and courageous. Well, how do you get strong, right? You get strong by doing hard stuff. You don't get strong by looking at weights and reading books by Arnold Schwarzenegger and all that stuff. That you might get knowledge that'll help you get strong, but you get strong by lifting the weights. And as far as courage, courage isn't not being afraid. Courage is being afraid and finding a way to go anyway. So the way you gain more courage is by putting yourself in situations where you're scared. So the way you become strong and courageous, being comfortable in the uncomfortable, you do hard and scary shit. You do hard and scary stuff, and you pay attention. You're not going to be stupid, right? You don't want to put yourself out in heavy surf if you don't know how to swim. You want to be prudent about it. But if you do things that are difficult and scary, with some level of kind of logic, so you don't unnecessarily get yourself hurt, that will help create that resilient spirit in you. So for me, I'd done martial arts for a whole bunch of years, but I had never done judo. And I said, I'm not interested in martial arts for the competition. But honestly, it was because I was afraid, man. I was afraid of getting thrown. And so then what did I do? I decided I'm going to do judo anyway. And I'm going to learn how to do this. And I did some competitions and there's some people who are a lot better at judo specifically than I was, the little bit of competition that I did, but it was a very valuable experience. Why did I start surfing? Because I was afraid of kind of not knowing what's going on with the water and stuff. But I thankfully found out that I liked it. I really enjoyed it. But the more you sit at home and maybe we have to right now, I guess, as far as, restrictions and all that kind of stuff. But assuming we're under normal circumstances, if you just sit at home and you don't do anything, you never stretch yourself, you never grow yourself, well, then you're just going to become uncomfortable anyway. I would rather choose the sensation of discomfort than have it come to me because I didn't have the resilience or the flexibility or whatever it is I needed to deal with it. If somebody punches you in the face and you've never been punched in the face before, it's going to hurt for either of us. Don't get me wrong. But if that punch doesn't knock you out, you're still going to be stunned while I'm figuring out a plan of attack to be able to make myself safe. So doing things that are scary, doing things that are difficult, it helps you be prepared for things so that the challenges you face are as much possible your choosing rather than just, whatever happens in life.
When do you hit the road for comedy? When are you going to start touring?
Dude, as soon as I can actually go perform anywhere.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I definitely want to do it some more. Sounds like you're doing some comedy out there, and maybe you hit the stage or whatever. Honestly, I would love. There's two people, by the way. I just put this. They happen to be watching this. Two people I would love to open for. Josh Blue. If you know,
I do know. Yeah, in fact, he's due up on a show. Blue, where are you, man? You said you're coming on.
Yeah, dude, I would love to. I'd love to come open for you, man. Let me know how you want to do that. But also,
please say Cripple Threat.
Cripple Threat.
Yeah. Do you know him? America's. Are you going to say him? Were you going to say him?
No, I wasn't actually.
Okay.
I don't know Cripple Threat.
He was America's Got Talent runner-up.
Okay.
He's supposed to be on here pretty soon too.
Nice. The two other, one other guy I'd like to open for, another guy I'd just like to meet, but I'd love to open for Brad Williams.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I love that guy. I told him, and by the way, I don't have a dog right now, but I told him that, tweeted at him one time, because I've totally missed on getting tickets. I was like, if he gets me in, I'll let him ride my guide dog. But
he's out. I mean, he's in LA, so he's not too far.
No, it's not that far. It's not that far.
Yeah,
nothing else, man. If he wants to have me on a podcast, I'll come do it. You know.
Yeah, for sure. I think you'd be great opening for him and just seeing how it goes. Yeah, Josh Blue would be fantastic. That guy's hitting the road again. He's bored. He's chopping shit up, man. He's in his backyard with a sword, just cutting shit up, man. The sword flies out of his hands. Go to Josh Blue's Instagram, people listening.
That sounds hilarious.
Yeah, this sword, I don't know he's chopping up wheelchair signs and his shit flying everywhere. And you can tell that like being inside is getting him. And I know he sees my messages, so we're due up, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need him on here.
Great.
He's going crazy up there. So reach out to him, see what you can work out.
Right on, man. I do want to make sure, and this is a non sequitur, but I absolutely, as much as I love Stoked for Life, I got to make sure that I give mad props to Waves for All out here.
Tell me about Waves for All. Like, tell the listeners.
Yeah, so Waves for All is a para-surf and parasailing group of people. Not parasailing like you're up in the, but adaptive surfing and adaptive sailing, local to the San Diego area. For a while, we've had the last Sunday of every month, we'll get together up in Oceanside and we'll go surfing. And whether you're brand new to it or whether you're you've been in surfing for a while, you have people watching out for you, and maybe somebody will go to the outside with you, or if you just want to catch some inside waves, because I like training, independence in my surfing, and so I'm a little bit unsure in terms of the advisability to go into the outside by myself.
Yep.
Because I don't know what's coming, and I might not see somebody coming in, but on the inside, as long as, we're keeping decent distance from each other, catching those independent waves, they're still looking out for me there. And it's a really fun time where people get together, regardless of the adaptation that needs to be made. We've taken some people out on, we have a catamaran, like a real just sporty sailboat.
Yeah.
Taking them out in Mission Bay and giving people that. They even let me drive the boat, which is crazy.
Mission Bay is packed too, man. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's cool.
But yeah, it's a really cool thing. So it's wavesforall.org. It's number 4. So
yeah, Waves for All, good people. Jimmy Miller, Stoked for Life, A Walk on Water.
Yeah.
Come on, A Walk on Water is doing great things out there too. There's a lot of, California is packed with a lot of really meaningful organizations. I probably should be living in California, but we're pretty entrenched here because there's so much good stuff going down, especially in Southern California.
Honestly,
we're very lucky.
I'd love to swing out to Vegas though. You got some pretty interesting opportunities, to do some adventuring that people don't realize out there.
Yeah. What, do you mean outdoor adventure, or do you mean like inside clubs?
Both. Not so much the clubs, but I dug jumped off the stratosphere when I was out there a few years ago.
Oh my God. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do it.
Valley of Fire is freaking beautiful though.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is though. Honest, like for people that are listening, really it is beautiful, but like jumping off the strats, crazy stuff. That might have, did your gut just go just as soon as you hit that?
Dude. Well, it was funny. I asked him probably an extra 3 times. You got me strapped in properly, right?
Yeah. You're like, please.
And for the first 3 seconds, because you jump off that thing, if you could see, you're basically seeing the whole strip almost from how high up that thing is.
You're seeing the whole strip. It's crazy. Yeah.
And so it took me 3 seconds to not feel freaked out. And then I dug it, because after a while your heart just kind of catches up to you. But
I got a wild story about the Strat, about like right before they shut down. Travis Strong, my friend Travis Strong, he's a double amp from War.
Yeah.
From
I met him.
we scale a Strat, meaning that you take the stairway up, and the stairway up has a railing. I'm 6'3" that goes to like below my hip, and you just see straight down. You see straight down the whole thing, 1,400 floors down, and we're going up, and he's just using his hands, doing dip after dip up. So you're taking your
that guy
time.
must be a beast.
That's freaking beast for sure.
Wow.
But like, I can tell you that I don't want to be in a Strat anytime soon. By the way, that vlog's out there for anybody listening. Yeah. Go to our YouTube channel, which you're probably watching on right now. For you watching, click that right there. You're going to see Travis Strong complete that. Nobody knew if he was going to complete it. He's the first. So it was a pretty rad video. Man. Yeah, it was crazy, but man, I did not want to be in a Strat anymore. I'm like, screw this. I live like 20 minutes from a Strat's a bad neighborhood too. It's so crazy there. But that's a good ride, man. Yeah, come out to Vegas, hang out with us, and we'll go do some stuff, man.
We guess go shoot some machine guns together or something. You know, you get this.
You know what though? I have
like some range out there where
there's
they have,
multiple.
Like, one of the few permits where like you can full on shoot like Tommy guns from like the gangster era.
Yeah, 100%. There's it's near Boulder City, I believe. I don't know. I've been out there once. I mean, you can do anything you want here. Everything's crazy. It's a different world here. But then at the same time, it's a very tight knit community. It's not that bad.
Yeah.
Now,
there's some cool people out there.
Oh yeah, most genuine community I've ever lived in was right here. So, and I've lived in a lot of states. What are you gonna do next, man? Like, what's the plans? Where are you going to? And second, how can people hang out with you? How can they surf with you? How can they come see your comedy?
Yeah, for sure, man. So probably the two places where I'm most active. Honestly, I'm more of a Twitter and Facebook kind of guy, but you know, I'm trying to give Instagram some love. They're a little bit more thing, but if you want to catch me out on Twitter, that's Servant Warrior. So SERVANT WARRIOR, and then Instagram is with a Jedi. Got given that nickname a few years back, and I'll take it. I'm not going to take it for myself, but I'll take it. So Joshua the Jedi.
It's a good nickname.
And then if you just do, honestly, if you search online, Joshua Loya Blind Surfer, you'll find me. I'm a bunch of places.
Yeah, you are. You're everywhere. I put your handle, Instagram, behind us, so you're watching. It's going to be in show notes everywhere. We're going to catch up with you. We're going to put you in a vlog, man, when we get out there.
Sick, man.
We're going to get you out there. You can hear it, listen to it, whatever you choose, and it's going to be there. So, Josh, thanks for being here, man. Thanks for your time.
Absolutely. It's been great.
Remember, go to livingadaptive.com to find previous episodes, show notes, contacts for guests like this guest, links to social media accounts, and a bunch of other good stuff. So go there. Peace.